technology is moving so fast that fans now, especially since most fans have got some kind of IT or computer type experience and that sort of, are getting their hands on the kind of raw creative power that only George Lucas could get his hands on like 10 years ago.
I would almost be tempted to say that at no point in history could the film have been made the way it's being made now. The technologies and the people and the skills required to deliver this film, they simply wouldn't have been available to us as filmmakers even a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy to think it's such a long time. The cameras and the equipment changes so much between shoots. This is what we were using that first shoot. This is the camera, and now it's getting used for behind the scenes material. You almost feel bad for it.
Where we were shooting in not even high definition, for instance, we've gone to shooting in 5K and having all these amazing visual effects programs at our fingertips now that we can make this film so much better than it originally was going to be years ago.
But I'm amused that Troll Bridge has outlasted DVDs as a
Yeah. Well, you can still get DVDs.
I'm going to have to find a DVD player, I think, when I finally get the disc, because
started on the wax cylinder.
Yeah.
You know, every so often somebody asks me, what's the hardest part of Troll Bridge? The hardest part of making the film, and the answer is almost always the bit we're doing right now. So if you were to ask me that question now, what's the hardest part about Troll Bridge? It's the post-production.
The scope of, especially the visual effects, is huge. Absolutely huge. Certainly not what I was expecting when I got into it.
And we're all not juvenile, but inexperienced filmmakers. So I thought I would love to work on a project with professionals, people who actually know what they're doing. So rather than leading students and supervising people, which I always do, I thought, I could just be the little compositor who learns from the experienced people, and grow my experience that way. Yeah, and so it was a good journey.
Thank you. Okay, so non-effect shots in the bridge sequence. So that's shots that don't have any effects in them at all. 3. Shots where we need to actually insert a CG horse. 3. Shots that are completely CG, so there's no live elements in them at all. 19. Shots with screen, that's Michael's son. Shots with screen, 15. Shots with barrel, 25. Shots with horse mouth animation, 28. Set extensions, 49. Background replacements, 97. Shots with mica, 121. Yes! Total number of FX shots currently in Troll Bridge, 190.
Yeah.
Total number of FX shots in Jurassic Park, 75.
The thing is, we did not have any non-VFX shots in there. That's the big difference. Because even when you're looking at something like Lord of the Rings, they might have 250 shots as well in their entire 2-3 hour movie, because they have a lot more filling shots where they had enough set in a particular location where it's easy to fill like half an hour of talking heads. Even when we had talking heads, they were still on green screen and we still had to put the background in.
It's a lot of people working on sometimes a split-second shot to get it finished. Some of the shots I've done are up to 2 seconds long, but that will still involve months of work just to get that 2-second shot completely finished.
You'd have a tracker for the camera. The camera's moving around and they would track all the dots around the set. You would have a roto artist who would go through and remove all the green screen. Then you would have an animator who would go through and animate the troll or the horse. Now this is taken into account that asset, the troll or the horse, has already been created by a sculptor. Not only has it already been created by a sculptor, it's also been textured by somebody. Whether that's a sculptor or someone else, it can be whatever. And they've also figured out the lighting for it. and they've also figured out the rigging. And the rigging's a big thing because inside every model there's a skeleton inside which you can manipulate and that adjusts the model appropriately. Now if the horse is there, then it's match moving, because it's not just tracking. You actually need to get the 3D model and make sure that it's lining up against the horse correctly. So it's not just a matter of building the horse and rigging the horse, it's also a matter of applying hair to the horse. And that's not the sculptor's job, that's actually a hair artist. There is someone whose job it is to put hair on a 3D object, and we've got a guy called Cameron Crichton doing that, and he's excellent. Then you've got the compositor, and the compositor gets all these elements and sells it. That is their one job, is to make sure that all these different separate elements look like they're part of the one scenery.
You have a background image, you have a middle ground image, you just layer the images together. Sounds very simple. Just layer them together and job's done. So the main job in the compositing is actually to match to the real footage. So we have a certain extension of real bridge, and then we have digital bridge that has to look seamless, that has to blend seamlessly with the real bridge.
I found this page called the versions page, which collates all the different uploads that people have done on the film, and there was a number down the bottom which told me how many versions had been uploaded, and these are all video files that have been assessed, managed, being created by an artist who has spent countless hours on the work that they're submitting, and there are 8,833 versions at this point.
You know, you submit your shot, you think, this is the 8th time, it's great, it's good, this is finished, lean back, let's move to the next shot, and then, no, this pixel is a bit out of color, or this beard thing has to be moved, and you go through shot. We have shots that were, I don't know what the final versions were, but I had some shots that were up to version 27.
8,833 divided by how many shots are there? There are actually 267 shots. 267 shots. Okay, so on average, each shot had 33 different versions.
After the shot would get through visual effects, it would come to color grade, which was the last visual stage. So I got to see everything right at the end, and I think the winner, there was a shot that came in version 43. I think that was the winner. Yeah, color grade's interesting because it is the very, very last thing you do to an image. So it's the point where you say, I'm now ready for people to see it. And when you've worked on something for that long, it can be hard to let go.
You know, and that's where I guess we're all naive in the beginning, going, oh yeah, we'll just green screen it and throw in a new background and bang, there's our finished shot, cool. But now we've got over 100 people trying to do that for us on single shots. So,
but everything has a job. It's incredible, and an expert.
And we've got over 100 and something people working on this now, and they probably have hundreds more on a feature film. So that's a huge eye-opener. And
that's not including doing sound design or scoring or anything like that also has to run through that particular one shot. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you got most of it.
That's pretty good.
Now, I didn't know any of this before I started Troll Bridge. I still wish I didn't know it now.
The overall budget that we had came about even with the same budget that one shot on Game of Thrones has. So a single shot, and we try to do a 40-minute film. Came at some point a bit of a race between his embargoings and us to finish the film. We kind of lived to show that film to Terry. The film was made for Terry, and we always had plans. Like I always dreamed of having Terry there at the premiere and having him see the movie, and I kind of wanted him to be proud of us. And the day he died, it was in the middle of production, and I knew we weren't far enough, and it was like, it was a really, really sad day. I think I made a very sad picture of Micah that day. was the only outlet I had.
I would have liked to have seen the finished film. We screened it at the International Con in September. However many years ago it was now. And directly after the screening, Rob said, "You got to come back to the estate and show Terry." Terry couldn't make it to the con at that point, and I got to screen it for him on his monitor on his desk computer. That for me, that was the screening. That was the screening of Troll Bridge. So we screened it for Terry. Terry loved it, and the first thing he wanted to do was show Lynn. He wanted a copy to show Lynn. I understand that his Alzheimer's had reached a point where it was kind of like a kaleidoscope for him. So he could see the images, but they might not have been in the correct order of things.
Terry loved the idea that we were working on this film. He loved Daniel. He loved what we were doing with the film. Definitely glad he got to see a lot of what we've done, and an almost finished version. But definitely a little bit bittersweet that he doesn't get to see the completed film in its final stage.
He was very appreciative of everything. I just didn't want him to die at all, to be honest.
I think it's a sad day for literature itself, because the man had a massive following, and he was very, very clever in what he did.
He's my favourite author. I grew up with, obviously he's my favourite author to spend this much time working on his material. I think he's an incredibly deep thinker, and I wanted to get a lot of those thoughts out through film, because that's my medium. I just think we're a lot poorer in the world that we don't have him writing stories.
I think it becomes more poignant. I think it now becomes this is now for you, Terry, as a remembrance, as a gift.
It definitely pushes us to do something that is just 10 times better than what we're already trying to do. We want it to be even better and just, honour his memory and do it the best way we can.
So this is where I've been working on Troll Bridge since I've been living here, 7 years, maybe 6 years, 7 years. Has been in what used to be a veranda. It's just shit piled on top of other shit. My inbox is literally in a pile, which has now become the inbox. The Complete Idiot's Guide to Independent Filmmaking, which was a present from Aaron. That is a photo of an orangutan looking at some sorcery flyers. That's the bandages from Weird Sisters. That's from The Morning After. That's from when Barrington was crowned King of the Trapeze. I directed Sorcery as a stage play back in Perth, and we gave the money to the Perth Zoo, who have an amazing orangutan program. Blood on the Game Dice award again. I had another award which I broke. Cohen's teeth. These are Cohen's. Okay, so I need to take photos of these at some point. Okay, cool. This cheese grater was when I directed Weird Sisters for Black Yak Theatre in '98. Bottle from Nullus Anxietus, the first one. This was a beer that Troy drank from out in the middle of nowhere. Second to Nullus, actually. That was for the advertisement there. This is from Christian Bloch. He did his own little Discworld animation short film 13, 14, 15 years ago, before I'd met him. In winter, all I can feel from this end here is the cold coming around here and slicing through my arm. I've kept a ponytail of my hair on the assumption I can probably flog that off at an auction. It's called male pattern baldness. Is essentially what it is. It's to hide. I'm vain. I'm a very vain man, and it's to hide the fact that I'm going bald. It's odd. Yeah. It's odd that I've ended up looking like my fucking character. So that's wonderful. Not intentional. Not intentional. So basically, today, I'm shifting. And I'm shifting to the new room, which is through here, which is a little bit larger. And it's probably about twice the size as the other room, and it's a bit more square shaped. So this will be the new office. And the reason I need a new office is because I've quit my job. The reason I've quit is because at the convention, the one that just went on, the International Discworld Convention, I caught up with Rob Wilkins. Rob Wilkins is one of our executive producers on the film. He also happens to represent the Pratchett estate. And he has very generously donated a whole chunk of cash for me, Lockie and Darren to work on Troll Bridge full time, essentially for 9 months. That year that we took off to do the film, without the estate's involvement, would have taken 4 or 5 years to do without their involvement. So I can tell you, I can guarantee you there's no way that any major player on the team would have stuck around that long. I would have been the last man standing, absolutely. We would have absolutely gone through and made sure all the backers and pledge fulfillments were met. But the film itself would have been extremely patchy.
Hi, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Rachel from Discworld Monthly, and we're here with Daniel Knight from Snowgun Films to talk about Troll Bridge. So hi Dan, what is happening with Troll Bridge? When are we going to get to see it?
Cool. Well, yeah, we're definitely going to get to see it this year. The question is when. That year was really an exercise in breaking relationships. I mean, you're not seeing anything on social media at the moment for one very important reason, and that's due entirely to exhaustion. Complete and utter, I don't want to be light on that. We're wrecked. I thought it was supposed to give me free time. It just obliterated it. It completely obliterated, because that's all there was Troll Bridge. And that's all I could see, and that's all Christian could see, and that's all Aaron could see. And if anyone was off base, then I'd be pulling them back into alignment. It's not finished. Like I said before, it's not going to be finished until it's actually on a screen, and we're not going to stop tinkering with it until it's on a screen. But that's very... And trust me, if it's frustrating for you guys that it hasn't hit a screen yet, it's really frustrating for me. We're almost at 15 years now. Yeah. That's a nice round decade and a half, which is really nice as a number, and we can use that in advertising, but for Christ's sake, it just makes me want to do my head in sometimes. But you know you sit back and you remember that you're playing in Terry Pratchett's world, and you find motivation and heart to continue on. Because you're kind of pushing everybody to what you believe is the extent that you can push them. So it all starts falling apart right at the end, because you're misjudging it a little bit, or you're not quite nailing it. It's everyone asks when's Troll Bridge going to be done, but it's funny that when someone talks to me, they very rarely ask, "Are you all right?" Because it has been 15 years, and it really does. It's taken me a year from that year off to remember how to be a human again. When I re-entered the workforce, I was a mess of a human being. I mean, I think we're all just looking forward to getting the film in front of an audience, like a completed film, in front of an audience.
You can imagine that on a project where lots of people work internationally and lots of people work for free, that you get a lot of graduates, lots of students, lots of people who are just only learning how to do compositing, and some people don't even know how to use the software yet.
We also had a revolving door policy. Since we allow people to leave at any time, if we keep that going, we would slowly trickle out. So we also had to bring new people on all the time. Building a whole documentation structure online, where everything was documented with tutorial videos, where everything was linked up. We call that our boot camp. So when a new volunteer comes in, we find out what he can do, we send him to the boot camp.
We used Shotgun, which is a project management software where you upload your shot, but you also upload some support files. So for any shot that I was supervising, I could download the latest script, and you really spent an hour going through that script, trying to figure out what did the guy do, what is the thing that he needs to change to make it better.
Everyone's making their own decisions a little bit. So the colour grade, trying to get everything cohesive was a very long and difficult process. But ultimately, it comes down to Dan and Christian, obviously, just really getting on it and making sure that things came through VFX consistent.
The challenge here is that everybody volunteers from their own room, from their own house, and we communicate everything through the internet.
We all really needed to be in the one office. We needed people that we could talk to on a face-to-face. We rock up at the office first thing of the morning, we go through the rushes as a big group, we talk about what needs to be done during the day, the work gets done. We couldn't do that.
Daniel would say that working on the many time zones is a curse, but it's also a blessing because I would put stuff in, and Christian, who is in America, is pretty much on the opposite side of the planet. So I can deliver something in the evening and have feedback there in the morning to continue with the work.
It's lonely. And it shouldn't be lonely for a crew this size. Like our crew is huge. But everybody's suffering this. It's not just me. It's every single volunteer we've got. Very few of us get to actually see each other face to face, and that's another reason to look forward to the festival circuit. Is I'm actually going to meet a lot of our artists for the very first time.
Having a group of people all around the world trying to make a movie is nuts. And trying to do it democratically is nuts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I take it you've got to have one bastard. I mean, you cannot direct a movie by consensus.
There was a lot of enthusiasm to join the project. That enthusiasm quickly fades away when you discover that it's actual work.
I got really depressed because I was constantly having to whip these volunteers to get work done just so that we could have a film finished. But it's like this isn't what the project was supposed to be.
You can basically only ever pull people. You can never push someone. The moment you push them out.
And unfortunately, we all have day jobs, so it's something that's is worked in around working 5-6 days a week at a job and commuting 2 hours a day and coming home and just wanting to go to bed and going, cool, I've got 10 shots that Daniel wants me to do by Friday.
Marching forward saying, okay, we're going to do this now. This is how you do it. This is going to be awesome. Come along. And just dragging people along.
People are doing it out of love and passion. They're not doing it because they're fronting up and doing 40 hours a week on this project. People are probably doing 60 to 80 hours a week on this project, but they've got to fit in 40 hours of work as well.
And it's sometimes hard to keep that enthusiasm up myself. So a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of fetal position on the floor.
But you can't be an arsehole to volunteers. And I was an arsehole to a lot of the volunteers.
Our biggest problem was volunteers who take on a task but then don't pull through. And then you don't hear from them again. And since you're working with 60, 70 different volunteers at a time, it's very easy to just drop under the radar.
We'd have some artists that would sit on a shot for 6 months, not do anything, and we would have to kick them off the project. And they go, no, I am going to work on it. I am actually working on it. I've actually done this. Can you upload the stuff so we can see? No, I just want to do a bit more. And we had artists that would string that out for 6 months. So I would adopt the role of the arsehole trying to get stuff done. And I hated myself. I still
Daniel was pretty unforgiving, and if there was something that he didn't like, it had to be changed, and tiniest small little problems in the grain or in the anti-aliasing had to be fixed, and shots we went through shot iterations after iterations, and that's a really good lesson for somebody who's fresh out of school. They realize that, yes, you might need 27 different iterations until it's good enough.
Well, there are other ways of doing a troll. There's no realistic way of doing a troll unless it's going to be computer generated. I contemplated and played around with the idea of having a guy in a costume and everything like that, but he was not going to be able to do the amount of movement that I wanted our troll to do. I wanted our troll to be quite energetic and mobile.
I mean, that's fine. I think what is always a letdown in this sort of thing is where you get clear texture differences. In other words, You have a real Conan the Barbarian, and he's clearly a real human and everything else, and the troll clearly isn't a real troll.
Yeah.
Because the rocks do not look rocky.
Mm.
They look like grey, flat pieces of animation art.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kind of certain that you can, with whatever it is that you guys use, which is like Adobe 970, you can actually get a troll texture which will be, similar to the stone of the bridge?
If we're talking to a guy at the moment who's a huge fan in LA, who I found through L-Space because some of his work was linked there.
Okay, here we go. November 8, 2004.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I was cruising through L-Space when I stumbled across your site. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm with a small, recently established independent film company in Australia called Snowgun Films. For our first project, we decided to do a Discworld movie. Insane? Probably. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Troll Bridge at all, but the story calls for, surprise, surprise, a troll. Let me know if you're interested, because we'd certainly love someone with your experience on board. Signed by Daniel Knight. That was the first time I heard from Daniel Knight, ever. November 8, 2004.
I'm not that great an artist, personally. I'd like to think I am. But no, I'm not really. One person I found, Felix, who's living in Canada, I loved his artwork. So what I did is I contacted him and asked him if he would be interested in being involved in drawing up some pictures, which he did.
Well, the biggest inspiration was the rock biter from the Neverending Story. And the funny thing about the rock biter is that even though he's made of rock, or in your mind he's made of rock, but in reality made of foam, and a lot of the charm comes from the fact that the foam would deform sort of softly. So we decided to rig Micah in a very similar way, so he deforms softly like foam, and that made him very human-like. So it's the old thing of humanizing a monster that Terry brings up so many times. We didn't really come up with the idea of using moss as hair. That was actually described somewhere. The description of his trolls, which are scattered throughout all the books, have all been kind of condensed into those characters.
Are you an actor, John?
Hey?
Are you an actor?
Yeah.
What part are you playing?
Seps' lead.
Ah?
He's actually just reading for the troll today.
Okay. And what's your troll voice like?
Sort of cockneyed, I thought.
Because obviously there was no other actors there apart from Bob, so I just said, Dan, look, I'll come along and I'll just speak in for the troll, not knowing that 12 years later I'd end up being the voice of the troll. So I suppose that worked out really well in the end. So yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm Christian Bloch, the VFX supervisor of the most epic film of all times, Troll Bridge. I'm here live from Hollywood, California, and I'm here to show you how we're going to animate Micah in Modo. That's right, Modo does animation, and I'm showing you how. We're doing everything in Modo. We got this character, Micah, been modeled, sculpted, 3D texture painted, rigged, is getting animated and rendered all in Modo. And since I'm having such a good relationship with them, they actually helped us shape Modo into something that can work for this project. I mean, there's nothing better than having an actual team of engineers ponder over the problems you're having with performance and like, you know what, we made a new version and now it's twice as fast, now not this. And like, what? We had custom scripts built for Micah, which ended up becoming commercial scripts to sell for other people. So it was a test bed for everybody. But anything we've done in the last first 5 years, none of this shows up on screen anymore. So we ended up reshooting the whole thing because if you think about it, 17 years ago, television wasn't even HD yet. Upgrading Micah was not only necessary, but was also something that I really, really wanted to do, because you can't use an asset from 2005. Because SD, when you really think about standard definition, like YouTube will not even accept a video this small. That's like the thumbnail size these days. The Micah you see now in that movie is a brand new Micah. That's like Micah 2.0. He was completely rebuilt from the ground up. This time he was properly sculpted, he was properly painted, his costume was properly made, everything was kind of more proper. I took a lot of cues from how they prepare Disney characters for articulation. So he was properly articulated, his face is completely movable, and that made a big difference. The original modeling approach is just sort of drawing curves and polygons. The new approach is that you sculpt and treat it like digital clay. That gives you a lot more detail, and especially with the rock surfaces. You also add a little chain in the back, which gives him a bit of backstory, as if he has been chained.
You just called that backstory.
That is a backstory, it's on his back! That's where the backstory goes, right? If you want to join our project, you're totally welcome. If you do 1 shot or 100, doesn't matter. Come and hop on board. We certainly welcome any help.
So look, I'll have a go. I'm animating at the moment. So they sent me some bits to animate. And I was watching myself on the screen and then trying to animate the troll who was me. And then I'd be talking to Dan and Christian, I'm going, yeah, but at this point I was, I don't know, it doesn't work.
The challenge right now and the accomplishment afterwards is gonna be to make a CG character that emotes, that shows moments of despair, that has internal dialogue.
You have to try to get into him. He's a troll, he's made of stone, he's heavy. You have to realize how he would move, what his character is, what he's thinking. You have to give him a soul. You have to see it when he's animated. That was, at the beginning, was a little bit tricky, but as soon as you got into it, it was just lots of fun to do.
Well, the bridge is kind of like its own character. We started off from really amazing concept drawings from Sviatoslav Petrov. It's supposed to be really huge. They could only build so much on set. So most of the bridge ended up being CG. Had to blend in perfectly with the beautiful set they built, and it was Brian Baxter who brought the bridge to life. First rebuilding the practical pieces and then continuing that style outwards into the things that did not exist. To put that much detail in like so many square miles of bridge, it was almost frightening. And so that's where Matthew Card came to the rescue, and he built so much little set dressing to give it backstory and to give the whole thing more visual interest. We thought, how would it be if we get chains on there? And we're like, Matthew? And he's like, oh, well, 6 different chain designs. Which one would you like? And we're like, spikes. We need spikes on the chains. We actually sat down with a structural engineer. Some bridges actually have supporting chains. You just have to have a mechanism inside the towers that has a counterweight, and it's all modeled out. There's a counterweight in there, there's a little wheel where the counterweight runs over, and every once in a while the counterweight has fallen down, knocked bits out of the bridge, lies on the bridge. Technically it didn't need any chains. We still sort of made it a thing because we thought it looks cool, especially once we discovered that we can make chains spiky. And spike chains are just freaking amazing. Dave Tipper made the background in literally every single shot. All the background, all the landscape, all the world. Originally we actually thought even the rocks next to the bridge, there's a big cliff face, and originally we thought, oh, it needs to be 3D and sculpted out, and then Dave comes along with a genius method of taking a matte painting and kind of dimensionalizing it with different planes, so it looks like it has parallax, but it's still painted and has all the detail of a painting on it. Dave was completely instrumental. I would probably say of all the VFX work, 70% of the pixels you see on screen are provided by Dave Tipper.
And then later on I started animating Beryl and Tourmaline, try to find her character and what she was thinking, how she would express herself. And that was a really fun thing to do and to find out. And yeah, and especially Tourmaline as well, because you could only see her eyes. So you had to think about how to communicate only with her eyes and maybe a little bit head shaking left and right.
So, Troll Bridge, great movie, who are you playing?
I'm playing Beryl, the troll's wife. And I was like, oh, yeah. And the worst part, people go, oh yeah, I can see that. Yes, now you mention it. But basically for me, the character of Beryl is probably my ultimate tribute to Terry Jones. Going, what's going on over there? Get back to work, sort of thing. There's no chance for mistaking him for a woman, but you know, even when he's all dolled up, you know, he'll have a beard, some or whatever, stubble, and you just go, good grief. But I'm probably, if there's an antagonist, this is probably my character. You get down there and do your chores. I'll be out here and chat to some old fella.
Yeah, when we did the first version of Troll Bridge 10 years ago, we had Terry, when he first came out for the very first Nihilus, and we sat him down in a studio to have a look at what we had done.
I could be way out here, and obviously there could be just tiny hints of Monty Python in the delivery, possibly. Just it's probably just a speck of dust got in my eye.
Yeah, and he loved it. He said no, that is exactly what he was writing with the trolls. He wanted them to be very, very Monty Python, and you can see it in the words. And especially with Beryl specifically, it is written with the same rhythm that a Monty Python woman has been written in. Yeah.
This is what we've been waiting for all this time, is it? Sitting under a leaky bridge, waiting for people who never come, waiting for little bandy-legged old men. I should have listened to my mother.
We've recast Troy Larkin. But let me go in and say that it was Troy's idea as well as my own. Like, we were looking at the end of the film and we'd realised that there was not a single female presentation in it by a female. So we had one female character being played by a male, absurdly in a Terry Jones style, which was how it was written. But time has moved on and we didn't think that was kind of appropriate, and we certainly didn't want any sort of conversation about the film to be about the casting of that. So Troy Larkin and I were having huge discussions about it.
And so they thought, well, wouldn't it be crazy if the female character was played by female? Wouldn't that be... So that's where I came in. Who's a lady? Do we know any ladies? And Troy actually recommended me to Daniel.
You were the one.
I was the lady. I'm the lady in the film. And the brief that came in from Daniel said, we want you to sound like when Terry Jones from Monty Python does a woman. Like in Life of Brian or in any of the many sketches where he puts on a dress and does a ridiculous voice that really probably isn't remotely like a real woman, but it's quite funny. And I grew up on Monty Python, so I went, I know what that sounds like. I don't know how well I captured that, but that was the vibe I was going for.
Now look, This is what we've been waiting for all this time, is it? Sitting under a leaky bridge, waiting for people who never come, waiting for little bandy-legged old men. Oh, I should have listened to my mother.
I was recording for hours because when I got in there, they'd already locked off the picture. So Troy had done the physicalization of the animation. And because he'd done that, he'd done all the lines on set. So the mouth was synced to his lines. I was trying to fit something to something that was already there. So it's like he did half the work and I did half the work.
At least this time it's from a female perspective rather than just being a willy fest, which Troll Bridge was quickly turning into.
The wind blew off the mountains, filling the air with fine ice crystals.
He was like, yeah, also, can you do this? He was like, think Cate Blanchett, Lord of the Rings. I was like, okay. It's quite funny. I showed someone the trailer the other day and they were like, is that you, the troll? I was like, yes. I'm the troll. One of the trolls. Yes, that was quite fun. It's fun getting to do such different voices because I don't think you would know they were both me unless you read the credits.
No horse can actually lip sync. It can bobble a little bit, but not really articulate words. They don't actually have the muscles to do that. So we rebuilt a horse head that is matching the real horse one-to-one. You film the animal itself as is, track the head motion, and you replace the head of the animal with a digital replica that looks exactly the same, but that can be animated. Even though we did model full eyes and full ears and everything, we ended up not using those because there's a lot of small twitchy motions, small things that are so much more real in the real thing. Also animated are the reins, because the reins interact with the mouth, because the horses have that thing in their mouth where it's like stuck there. So when the horse actually talks, the reins do something, and it has to be blended into the rest of the reins. And we also had to build an entire horse, because there were shots where Cohen was just walking in the snow by himself, holding his hand out. And the reason was because they dropped him on that ridge from a helicopter, and it's incredibly difficult to get a horse on a helicopter. So we added a digital horse in all the wide shots. This is a full digital horse. And yeah, there were amazing artists working on the horse. Dimitri Leppe sculpted it. The chief animator on the horse, the horse supervisor, was Marta. She went through the evolution of starting to animate on mica, and she was so into it and so enthusiastic and so responsive too, that when the horse came up, we offered her the supervisor position on the horse, and she thought, yeah, totally. And she handled the horse brilliantly, because it turns out Marta actually has horses nearby. So when any animator was asking for reference, how would a horse actually move, she was like, oh, wait a second. And then she comes back with like 5 pictures of actual horses, close-ups, of like, this is what a horse lip does. And she was absolutely brilliant.
Once we're through the pass, we'll be well into the gorge.
Oh, goody.
The thing is, with fur in digital, it renders forever. And also grooming fur is not something that a generalist can do. So it took us a long time to find just the right specialist who can help us with the grooming. I just recently heard a nice podcast from the Pratchett, a brilliant podcast, you have to check it out. I've been following it ever since. And the funny thing is, when they were discussing the movie, and they were talking about what all the CGI was, they were like, oh, and then there was also the horse, and someone was asking, oh, did they do CGI on that? And nah, that was just a trained horse. And I was sitting there giggling, because that's the biggest compliment a visual effects guy can get. When people don't actually believe it was CGI, that they think it was all practical.
After we finished just the original story that Terry had originally wrote, it became apparent that we would not be able to finish working on the prologue for another 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 years, it would have been 5, to be honest.
It would have made a lot of sense in the whole storyline. It would have introduced non-Discworld fans to the character of Cohen. A lot of people watch the film now and they're confused by this old guy. Like, this is not Conan the Barbarian. No, it's not, it's Cohen, and he lives on the Discworld. And the original prologue would have shown Cohen in his young age and would have ended with a comment that he is out seeking immortality. And so that would have really put a contrast to the actual Cohen. And so it would have introduced Cohen very nicely. And also the sequence had a lot of good old-fashioned humor in it, very Monty Python, and it would have set the tone much nicer for the whole film to come. We came in contact with Nicholas King, and he is the king of crowd replication. The sad part is that all the development, all these little soldiers were already built, and he made them move, and he actually had some hilarious shots where both armies were storming at each other and end up in a giant dog pile. The trouble, once again, is that it's not just one shot. It would have been doing the same thing 50 times. Well, the line in the sand was, in the end, drawn with the rotoscoping. You'd have to manually cut out all the foreground army just to put the background army behind the people. And so much busy work that ended up being tacked on the end of where we were already done with the most of the rest of the film, and would have just delayed everything. So that's why we had to draw the line in the sand. And we cannot delay release any longer.
Troll Bridge is a unique thing for the people involved, I think. I think it's always better if you can get a film and get it done and get it out, because it exists in a moment, and it's an idea, and a set is a coming together of people, and there's an energy, and you want to get it out there and have it done. This represents something totally different.
When we first started, it it was a filmmaker who has never made a film before, with actors who have never been in a film before. It was a bunch of people who really wanted to put something together, but really didn't have a fucking clue.
Before starting to work with Daniel, I'd never produced or even done any work in filmmaking. So sort of everything that I've done with Snowgum has been a learning experience, and I think that's one of the things that's attracted me most to working with Daniel and working on this project, is that every time we're doing something new.
Troll Bridge has been my film school. I am astounded by how much I've learnt. Particularly over the past 2 years, it's been a real pressure cooker.
The whole thing is a learning experience, and we grow. Everybody here grows. We had people come on the project. They're like, I'm not sure, I'm not that big of an animator, but I'll give it a try. And then after 2 shots, they're fucking amazing. They discovered a talent that they didn't know they have. And
even some of my own old students have jumped on the Troll Bridge, done some shots, and gotten work now with shots that they put on their portfolio, which they had done for Troll Bridge.
I've gone on to projects that are feature film cinema releases, damn near 30 short films, and it's just really given me an eye for it, I guess. It's sort of solidified in my mind that it's definitely what I want to do, change my life completely in that sense.
We've made the odd misstep along the way, but we've also learned at the same time. And then we simply take that and we apply it to the next project and go, okay, well, we worked out how to fix that problem on the last film, we'll use that knowledge now and we'll go and create a whole bunch of new problems for ourselves.
I've done quite a few films since Troll Bridge, but nothing with this level of visual effects, and so working with that in the colour grade and getting these things through, it's still the biggest thing. It's still pushing boundaries.
I think we're doing something different. I really honestly believe that. I think we're doing something that's taking fan films to a level in a way that hasn't been reached before. I think other fan films certainly beat us in a lot of other levels, but I like to think on the sheer epic scale, maybe we've got something on them there.
I'm incredibly fond of it, and I'm so happy to finally see something that's been theoretical for so long and just represents thousands and thousands of man hours and the creativity of so many people, to see it finally take shape.
It can't be anything but epic. I don't think Dan will settle for anything but epic. I don't think Aaron will settle for anything but epic. And I don't think the people involved in any of the post-production will put it out knowing that it's not going to be epic.
Combining everything we put together, it's going to be the most epic short film that there has ever been. And I think the fans will love it too.
Yeah, the last Discworld convention was a weird experience. The film had completely defeated me by that point, I think. Ran the film, went up to the back, watched the audience and how they interacted with the film, and I left it at that. I went and got my beer. I wanted to see the next session because it was about the Watch series, and I was really keen on finding out where that was at. And the estate was in the room at that point. And I wandered in the room, and Chris Boot, who'd been looking after me, was in the front row, and he saw me at the back of the auditorium, and he goes, "There's Daniel, everybody." And the entire 2 or 3 front rows that had been in the previous session all stood up and started applauding. And then other people started standing up and applauding as well. Like, I was getting a standing ovation because I didn't give people the opportunity to applaud the first time, but I didn't think there was going to be that. And it was a really interesting ripple effect because now the auditorium is completely packed because of the next session. And the Discworld community is a very interesting thing. Traditions start very quickly. So because there's a lot of people standing up and applauding, this is a thing we're doing now. We're all standing up and applauding. So the entire room was standing up and applauding me and going crazy. And it became a contest to see who could go the craziest. And the estate was there watching it the entire time. So I was utterly thrilled. I was thrilled. I don't think we deserved it, but it worked out very well in our favour, I think.
I want to win awards.
I want to win lots of awards. I want this film to be great. And I want to take it to lots of festivals, and I want to have lots of people going, that is amazing. That's what I want from this film, and I think we'll do it.
The movie, what I'm hoping it will do is hit the blockbusters and get number one. There was a lot of effort put in that from Daniel, and he put a lot of hours in, a lot of hard work. I mean, a lot of people don't see behind scenes. I've done a couple of things with movies and that before, and it's amazing what goes into just one little shoot.
I think it's a film that can certainly be shared outside the Discworld people, you know, and I think they're going to like it, but it would be great to think that they would share it with people who aren't part of that world.
I would love to see myself with the troll, you see, because I'm acting to thin air. I might have been a bit precious, you know, I don't know. But it would have been good, yeah. I've got grandkids after all, you know, they're going to see Grandpa killing the troll.
It's the 16th of January 2019. We are at Bondi Beach in Sydney, and a little over 2 hours from now, Troll Bridge will get its world premiere.
Oh yes, I was just looking at an email from 3 years ago from the guys, and I was thinking, gee, I've been really looking forward to this.
You know, you've been living for something for over a decade and a half, and a lot of people have been saying this, Daniel, you are going to run into trouble when this is over. And I'm like, no, I can't think of anything better. And no, really, I think I'm actually going to run into trouble, and I need a project, and I need it soon.
It's so odd. You've worked with these people. You've seen their faces. You've seen them on Skype. We've talked remotely.
Hi, my name's Eamon, one of the many animators on Troll Bridge. I spotted it online a few years ago, put my hand up to do a bit of work, and yeah, it was great fun.
And to come in here and see them in the flesh and give somebody who's essentially a stranger a big hug because you're so happy that you achieved something and you can finally catch up and meet, that's a great experience.
But yeah, learned a lot, had some fun. First time I've met anyone on the crew yet.
In the Discworld conventions, it was in my hands. It's not tonight. This is out in the wild. So I'm a little bit nervous, a little bit. But hopefully we've packed it with enough of our people that we just take over the session and dominate from there.
Rolling. Welcome to the premiere of Troll Bridge, the movie.
And last but not least, Troll Bridge, writer-director Daniel Knight, producer Aaron Morris.
That wasn't the right. We didn't rehearse that. Look, thanks everyone for coming out. Really looking forward to seeing all the films tonight. As producer, I need to say a few quick things.
I'm going to look back and say, I did this, but I did this with the help of my friends.
What is kind of keeping me going right now is the cast and crew screening.
At the premiere somewhere, we're a big cinema and we're all going to be there, and to have this film on a big screen.
I want to be able to sort of look around the theatre while it's on and see the people who were involved in it and see them smile.
I want to be able to go to that theatre and stand in front of all of those people who have put all that work in and say, here it is. This is your film. This is what you made.
To sit down and watch the whole thing in its totally finished glory will just be amazing. But it's the end of a huge journey.
I'm in anticipation for all of them to be able to look at their own work and go, nice. We did make something cool. We got a good film.
I certainly hope to see you all at the screening tonight. It's not the first screening in Melbourne, but it is the first screening that matters. And that is with the audience that built the thing in the first place. Thank you so much. Yes, mate. I'll pretend I'm talking. Ladies and gentlemen, Troll Bridge.
like to present you with this Oswald for the world's best film.
I'm very happy to accept this on behalf of the crew of Troll Bridge, our first Oswald. Very proud. We'll live beside the other awards, beside my desk. Thank you so much.
It's a little piece of visual effects history. I'm pretty sure it's going to be standing right up there, along with Iron Sky, along with Neil Blomkamp, literally standing up to Lord of the Rings. That's what it is. That's what we're doing.
Well, here we are at the Carmarthen Bay Film Festival in Llanegi. I believe that is how it's pronounced. In Wales, it is a European premiere for the film, and it's screened a bit now, but this feels like the premiere to me. I guess as an Australian, I feel that anything we produce in our own country isn't real, and it needs to be approved overseas, and this is kind of the first approval of that. I'm very fucking happy to be here after all these years, and I think it's about 17 years now.
It's since about 2010 and got very involved in helping run the Irish Discworld Convention, and for the past 4 years, 4 times running it, I've interviewed Daniel about the progress of the film at every event, and it's just amazing to actually now have the finished product premiered today. It's great.
We did a lot of appearances for charity. It's made a lot of money for charity. We had a lot of fun. We made a lot of people laugh.
He's a fucking imposter.
Wait.
Hello there. If you could take that off.
My name's David Mojer, and this character is the older Scree from Troll Bridge. I put the costume together for the Irish Discworld Convention, and I did a skit in the Masquerade where I was the older Scree telling the story of what happened after Cohen the Barbarian left Dad's Bridge.
I sponsored it quite a few years ago, not 17 years ago, but quite a few, I think it was about 5 years ago.
I backed it many
Ever
years
ago.
17
long years ago.
No, not that long ago.
When you were a glint in the milkman's eye.
Quite a long time ago.
And I've seen it through many iterations. So I saw it from the very early drafts, which bear absolutely no resemblance. It's got refilmed several times in the process. So the very early iterations right through to, well, I'm hoping to see the final product today. So.
We're dying to see it. We've seen little clips of it and whetted our appetites. And I'm sort of, we've got a whole hour to go yet. This is not good enough.
And what are you expecting to see at the screening today?
The film. I've seen a very short trailer of it. I was impressed with that. I'm really looking forward to seeing the whole film.
Even though it was not pleasant at the time, but the whole procedure is enjoyable, you know. I mean, we do these things because we enjoy them, even when we're not enjoying them, because you can always enjoy it later, because you've got it on film. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, but that's true, yeah. We all do it for love.
When making a film like Troll Bridge, you're gambling that you have the skills to make these fans happy. And what I feel is that Snowgum Films are those fans.
I want people to enjoy it, mainly. I want people to forgive the time period that it's taken to make it. I hope that what we're making now lives up to the sheer period of time that's passed since we originally set out to do it.
We couldn't be here if it wasn't for Terry Pratchett. He's got to watch it too. So, if we were right-thinking people, we would all be sat indoors, which apparently we all are. And we'd all be sat around telling stories like Troll Bridge.
please do tell me, what did you think of the film? What did you think of Troll Bridge?
Worth every year that I've been waiting for it.
Oh, it's brilliant. I love it. What they created is just this makes me happy.
I think it's well worth the wait. It's funny, it's true to the book, to the story, and also it's given me an opportunity to dress up like this.
I can't stop smiling.
Troll Bridge is a wonderful poem. He gets the character, and the humour that Terry gets into all of his work comes across wonderfully.
Nice querulous old man who still made of steel and sinew. It was really, really impressive. Loved every minute.
We're waiting for the next one.
Yeah.
Bring Karen back.
I loved the views. I loved the spanning views where you could see it all.
The stonework is magnificent. We do approve the stonework, especially when it falls. That's the highlight of the film, is when the bridge falls. That's good for me. I like that.
The CGI is lovely. And it's faultless. The trolls in particular are so lifelike. It's just really, really beautiful.
Say the way that they've actually done the trolls is very much how they appeared in my head, and it's amazing to see that level of character coming over so well.
I thought it was a brilliant homage to the work of the great Sir Terry, and I think it had a really lovely tension between the love of the traditional and the recognising what's present and having a wondering what's coming. Human issues that we all struggle with, and I think bringing it into to Cohen's world in his context is absolutely masterstroke. It's brilliant.
The detail and the effort that they put into this production is fantastic. And Daniel and the rest of the team, all I can say is thank you, because what you've done is brilliant. It's just wonderful to see it on screen. And Daniel has done Terry proud. He really has.
Such a long journey, seeing it get from a fan-made thing through the finish, and everyone's been going, we want it next time. When's it going to come?
It's taken a lot out of him.
Is he?
Yeah, and he used to have hair. It's just gone downhill ever since he started. It was there, and it's just sort of descended. It's either that or extreme facelift, I'm not quite sure. But Daniel, thank you.
Yes, thank you,
for
Daniel.
doing what you then. You're a good old boy. Crack
Brilliant.
on.
It's been a long journey, but I think so worth it, because with respect to Terry, you have to do it right. There's no other way to treat the material. It has to be done properly, and that's what they've done. They've done an absolutely superb job with it. It's great. And just very sad that he's no longer with us, and just treasuring what he's left behind. And things like this, keeping his memory alive, speaking his name, very important to introduce the next generation of people to his work, because it is very, very inspirational stuff, and incredibly funny as well.
Thank you so much for putting on this. This is the launch I always dreamed of. Thank you. Piss off. Equally importantly, the Terry Pratchett estate for believing in us and offering support, the crowd backers for not killing us, and the massive cast and crew, and lastly, of course, Terry Pratchett himself, who we lost in 2015 due to Alzheimer's. We finished, mate. Wherever he is now, I hope Death has pulled apart the curtains for him and poured him a brandy. Thank you very much, Terry Pratchett. Troll Bridge is about getting old. It's about loss of our bodies and loss of our minds when only our story remains. How we choose to end that story is, of course, up to us. Thank you very much.
But it does also very neatly tie back into the entire moral of the story, because at the end, life goes on. You know, someday I may die, but it won't be today. Someday Troll Bridge will end, but that won't be the end of our filmmaking. That won't be the end of our storytelling. You know, there will be a next Troll Bridge, and we'll probably struggle with it as much as we have with this film. But you know, that's what we want to do. You know, we want to go there and do those kind of things. So we will keep seeking those kind of challenges out and keep making life difficult for ourselves, because we wouldn't have it any other way.
I have to ask you one thing. How long did this film take to make?
Which version? 9 years? This is the version that I... Yeah, 15.
16.
And tonight, I believe, is the world premiere.
Anyway, I hope that answers a few questions, for now at least. That's quite a lot, I think, personally. I need a coffee. Yes, no?
Yeah, do that again, but walk that way. See.
Okay, cool.
And so they can see more documentaries soon on the web, sort of thing.
Awesome, yeah, cool.